Welcome to the show, everyone. We are 2 rounds through in the League's Cup, and this has been a good tournament so far from a betting perspective. Our round 1 picks were 2-1, and round 2 were 3-1. Entering round 3, several teams have qualified already, which could complicate some things depending on how serious some of these teams take it. Some teams have already finished first, and some are through at least being in second place. If you look at the teams that are through so far in MLS, it's Dallas, DC, Miami, New England, New York City FC, Philly, Portland, Minnesota, and Columbus, plus LAFC, who had a bye. Over in Liga MX, Lyon, Mazatlan are already through. Same with Club America, and Pachuca had a bye as well. The only team through 2 rounds that's been eliminated is St. Louis from the MLS side of things. Now, if you're liking this Leagues Cup content, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more soccer picks this season long. Now let's get into the final round of the group stage matches that run from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday this weekend. So let's start on Saturday. And first up, there's 3 games that I want to touch on. And I actually think both teams could score in all 3 of these games. So depending how you like to bet your games will depend how you bet these. Let's start with Atlanta and Cruz Azul. Both of these teams suffered losses to Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, and now they'll go head-to-head to claim second place in their group. Cruz Azul at least made a game of it. They looked like the better team for much of the first half, they even got on the score sheet even after Messi got on the field, but they did lose in the 94th minute from a Messi free kick. For Atlanta, going up against Messi in the starting lineup and against their old star, Joseph Martinez, and their old coach, Tata Martino, they were run out of Drive Pink Stadium on Tuesday and lost 4-0. Martinez, Messi, and Busquets all started this time around, and Messi got them rolling with goals in the 8th and 22nd minutes. Then Robert Taylor, who also scored in the Cruz Azul game, scored in the 44th and 53rd minutes to lead the 4-0 rout. Atlanta now have just 3 wins in their past 12 matches. Atlanta games are always usually good for an over bet. They are 7-17 to over 2.5 in MLS, and their games average 3.4 goals per match, which is the highest tied alongside Columbus in MLS. Now, if you were to simply look at over 1.5 totals across all competitions, 2 or more goals have been scored in 23 of their past 26 games during 2023. Atlanta are the 3rd highest scorers in MLS, but they've allowed the most goals of any current playoff team, so while they score, they also concede. Atlanta have been scoring at home at 7-3-2. They're strong at home, at 7-3-2. They've scored at 27 and they've conceded 15. At home, they've scored in 14 straight across all competitions and also in 20 of 21 games. In addition to their Leagues Cup loss to Miami, Cruz Azul are 0-0-3 in Liga MX, being outscored 6-1. They've also conceded now in 8 straight games while conceding multiple goals in 7 of those 8 games. It's rather juiced at both teams to score at -160. It could still be a good bet by itself, or in the first leg of this parlay, just over 1.5 goals. Moving on, it's Austin and Juarez. This should be an exciting game on Saturday, as both will likely be going for the win to finish second in the group, behind Mazatlan, who have already secured the first place in the group with 5 points. Juarez have 1 point. Actually, it could settle for the draw, as Austin has 0 points. But this game will be in Austin, and it's unlikely the Verde don't at least find the score sheet. They lost 3-1 to Mazatlan in Game 1, but getting that goal means they've scored in 12 straight games now. At home at Q2, they're 6-3-3 in MLS, and they have won 4 of their past 5. Juarez drew 1-1 with Mazatlan on Tuesday before moving on to lose in PKs. In Liga MX, they've started strong at 2-1-0. Their 7 goals for is tied with Chivas for the most through the opening stages, but they've also conceded in all 3 of those games. That makes it 13 games in a row now, going back into last season where Juarez have failed to keep a clean sheet. They are on a run of 4-0 in the both teams to score market, and with both teams still needing to claim a spot to get in the round of 32, that would likely once again be a good bet in this game. Juarez can't defend, and we've seen Austin has not performed well in these international competitions. They lost to Haitian side Violette in the CONCACAF Champions League earlier in the year, and now they lost to one of the weaker Mexican sides in Mazatlan and on their home field. So you could, once again, if you wanted a single bet, both teams to score is priced at -125, or just once again go over 1.5 in the second leg of this parlay. Moving along to the 3rd game, it's Orlando and Santos Laguna. Everything is still to play for in this group as well between Orlando, Santos Laguna, and Houston. The Dynamo are done in their games. They drew both of their games. They drew 1-1 with Orlando and went on to lose 5-4 in penalties. And they drew 2-2 with Santos and then went on to win 5-4 in penalties. That leaves them in first in this group with 3 points. But with Orlando on 2 points and Santos on 1, they can still be knocked out. So all 3 teams can still finish first in this group. Orlando are what they basically always are, a good but not great team in MLS. They're 10-7-6 in the league, which puts them 5th in the East. Their home form also hasn't been great. They're only 5-4-3. Santos are an even 1-1-1 in Liga MX to start the Apertura. They lost 2-0 to Queretaro, beat Puebla 3-2, and drew Atlas 0-0. They've not been one of the forum teams, though, in Liga MX of late, being 13th in the Clausura last season, and they only have 3 wins in their past 13 games. They were 3rd in the Apertura, though, and they just showed that they are up for the challenge of going on the road and scoring in a tough place to play, beating the Dynamo. The Dynamo are 7-2-2 at home and in MLS, and they had only conceded 8 goals in those 11 games. Santos were actually down 2-0 before fighting back to draw, and they held the advantage in shots, 19-12, and shots on target, 12-6 in that game. This is another game with qualification on the line for both teams, so like I said again, you could probably back both teams to score at -130, or round out this parlay with another over 1.5. And the fact that I can get plus money with 3 of these games going over 1.5 at plus 111 is good enough for me. So that would be Atlanta, Cruz, Azul over 1.5, Austin, Juarez over 1.5, and Orlando, Santos, Laguna over 1.5. Let's move into the games on Sunday, and we'll start with an all-MLS matchup, and it's LA and Vancouver. And this is a match that we just saw 2 weeks ago on July 15th, with Vancouver winning 4-2 at home at BC Place. Vancouver jumped out to a 3-0 lead just 23 minutes into the game, and it looked like the game might be over, but LA made it interesting with goals in the 61st and the 74th to cut the lead to 3-2 before Vancouver iced it in stoppage time, winning 4-2. The Whitecaps had 17 shots, 9 on target. LA had 12 shots, 6 on target. The XG battle in the game went to Vancouver, 2.49 to 0.72. Both teams in MLS this season have been over teams. They're 13-9 to over 2.5. If you were looking at just over 1.5, Vancouver is 19-3, LA is 18-4. The Whitecaps started their Leagues Cup off tied with Lyon 2-2 after 90 minutes and went on to lose in a 19-round shootout 16-15. LA had their game delayed with Lyon from Tuesday to Wednesday, and they ended up losing 1-0. That leaves this group with Lyon as the winners at 5 points. Vancouver has 1, and LA has 0, so these teams are fighting for second to move on to the round of 32. I already talked about how these teams skew over this season overall, but let's look at some more recent trends. Across all competitions, Vancouver is 14-3 to over 2.5 in their past 17. Both teams to score is 14-3 in those 17. Both teams to score over 2.5 is 12-5. The Galaxy, meanwhile, they've gone over 2.5 in 7 of their past 10. Both teams to score is 8-2 in those 10, and both teams scoring over 2.5 is 7-3 in those 10. Now, the Galaxy did fail to have any success versus Lyon, but in this one, I could see goals again, just like we saw a few weeks ago. Let's start this parlay off with both teams to score in this game. Second up, it's Toronto and Atlas. As someone who lives very close to Toronto, this is painful, but TFC are bad, and they are embarrassingly bad. The playoffs are a pipe dream in MLS this season, and this Leagues Cup tournament was a chance for TFC to maybe push the reset button and try to find some success in a different tournament, but that thought died, at least for me, after just one game. TFC got blown out in New York to New York City FC, losing 5-0 on Wednesday. It was 3-0 at half. They were outshot 8-1 in shots on target. To make matters worse, they lost Shane O'Neill to a red card in the 84th minute. This team was already missing the likes of Michael Bradley and Lorenzo Insigne, so now they're missing another player. Toronto's only better than Miami in MLS. They're 3-10-11. They've been outscored 33-18 on the season. They've now lost 7 straight across all competitions, are winless in 10, and have just 1 win in 16. Next up is Atlas, obviously a Liga MX side. They started the Apertura in mixed form. They're 1-1-1. They beat Cruz Azul 2-0, lost to Monterrey 1-0, and they drew Santos 0-0. Their first Leagues Cup match saw them beat New York City FC 1-0. So high-scoring games are unusual for Atlas. In fact, across all competitions going back into the last season, for Atlas, the under is actually on a run, a perfect 8-0 run. They have a decent record over that stretch as well. They're 4-2-2. Atlas didn't hold much possession versus New York City. They lost the possession battle, 67% to 33, but they did put more shots on target, 5-2, and Aldo Rocha's 7th-minute goal was enough for the win. A Toronto win in regulation would see all 3 teams tied on 3 points, so there's still something to play for here for TFC, despite them looking really bad. But TFC have been shut out in 5 straight games, in 6 of 7, and they've been outscored 17-1 in those 7 games. This Atlas team doesn't score a lot, but they did just beat New York City, who just beat Toronto. Win, lose, or draw, I think Atlas should at least get on the score sheet. So let's go Atlas to score. Next up, Seattle and Monterrey. This is another group where a Seattle win in regulation would see all three teams tied on 3 points. Monterrey leads with 3 points. RSL are second, also with 3, and Seattle are last with 0 points. This is after RSL beat Seattle 3-0, and then Monterrey beat RSL 3-0. So this group has seen plenty of goals. Goals are something that Seattle has struggled for lately. They have just 2 wins across their past 10, and they have just 8 goals in those 10 matches, and just 1 goal in their past 3. Not so for Monterrey. I can basically use what I said for round 2 for Monterrey here again. Monterrey have come out flying to start the Apertura. They're 2-1-0, scoring 5, and they've conceded only 1. They suffered only 1 defeat in their past 10 now, and that came against Tigres in the semifinals of the Clausura. They have just 3 defeats in their past 24 as well. Only twice in those 24 games have they failed to score a goal. In 20 of those 24, there have been at least 2 total goals scored in their games. RSL is the hottest team in MLS right now, and they were down 2-0 to Los Toreados within 13 minutes. I think you could bet Monterrey for a straight win. You could go over 1.5 in a parlay, or you could round out this parlay that I'm doing with Monterrey simply to score. So we'll go LA and Vancouver, both teams to score, Atlas to score, and Monterrey to score at a nice plus 150 odds there. Let's do one single bet, and it's going to come from an all Liga MX matchup, and it's Tijuana and Queretaro. Both of these Liga MX teams got spanked by Philadelphia. Tijuana 3-1, Queretaro 5-1. Tijuana could at least lay some of the blame to 2 red cards, which didn't help their cause. Meanwhile, Queretaro were down 3-0 at a half, and they got their lone goal late in the game in the 84th minute when it was already 4-0. That leaves Philly through to the round of 32 with 6 points, and these two fighting for second, both with 0 points. Tijuana does hold a slight edge on the goal difference, though. These teams recently saw each other in the preseason, with Tijuana winning 2-0. Take out that preseason game, though, and it's still 19 of 21, and in each of the past 10 games between these two, in all competitions where there's been at least 2 goals scored, both teams to score has also hit in 15 of those 21 head-to-head meetings. But many of those meetings obviously go back a number of years, so let's just look a little bit more current sample size in the short Liga MX season. Tijuana is 1-1-1. They've scored 5. They've conceded 5. Queretaro is 1-0-1. They've scored 3 and they've conceded 4. For Tijuana, both teams to score is 5-0 and 7-1 across all competitions. If you go back into last season, for Queretaro, both teams to score is just 2-0 and only 2-4 in their past 6. But they have conceded 9 goals in their past 2 games. Neither team is at home, as all these games are being played in MLS Stadium, so they'll be playing in Philadelphia here. Both need the points. Let's go both teams to score on its own at minus 130. And then we'll move into the final group stage day of this tournament, and it's on Monday. We'll go to Columbus and Club America. This looks like it could be a great matchup. However, both are already through to the round of 32 by both teams beating St. Louis. Columbus won 2-1, and Club America won 4-0. The Crew can score. They score a ton. They've scored 45 goals in MLS, which is a league high, but they also concede a lot. They've conceded 33, which is the 15th most among the current 18 playoff teams. Their 3.4 goals per match is highest in MLS. Over 2.5 bets are 14-9. Over 1.5 bets would be 22-1. Club America just embarrassed expansion side St. Louis, and that's currently the first place team in MLS in the Western Conference right now. They scored early in the opening 5 minutes, and 4 different players got on the score sheet. America have lost 3 of 5 in Liga MX if you go back into last season, but losses for Club America are generally quite rare. They have just 3 losses in 13, 4 in 24, and only 5 in their past 39 games. They've scored in 13 straight and in 21 of 22 in Liga MX. In those 22, over 1.5 is 20-2. Now, I don't know how serious both teams will be taking this because they're both already through. How badly each wants to finish in first is tough to know, but I think either way, we will see at least 2 goals. So let's start off this parlay with over 1.5. In the second leg, we'll go to Chicago and Puebla. The Fire are a mediocre team in MLS at 8-7, scoring 31 and also allowing 31. They're 8th in the East, so they're in the playoffs, but just barely. They've been strong at home this season, though, with just 1 loss in 12 home games. Before Leagues Cup, they had won 5 of 6, and they kept clean sheets in 4 of those wins. Then in Leagues Cup, they were in the midst of a scoreless draw with Minnesota through the opening hour. But then once Minnesota scored a goal in the 62nd minute, things opened up to 1-0, 1-1, 2-1 Minnesota, 2-2, and finally a 3-2 Chicago win with a Kai Kamara winner in the 83rd minute. That made it 5 goals in 21 minutes in that game. It was an impressive comeback win versus Minnesota, which had just embarrassed Puebla 4-0 in the first Leagues Cup game in their tournament. Minnesota in that game was up 1-0, and they took a red card in the 29th minute, which you would think would give Puebla every chance to come back in that game. but that was not the case. Despite playing a man down for the whole hour, the Loons scored 3 more times. Emmanuel Reynoso had 2 goals, 1 assist, and they even outshot Puebla 7-4 in shots on target. Now, surely Puebla will be looking to bounce back after that, but this has not been a great team for a while now. They're 0-1-2 in Liga MX, that's 17th out of 18, and they've been outscored 7-3 in that short sample size. But if you go back into last season, they are 1-2-6 in their past 9 games across all competitions now. They've conceded in each of those 9, and a total of 18 goals in those 9. On the road, it's grim reading. They have 2 wins in 20 games, and they've conceded a goal in 27 of their past 29 road games. So I think we can just safely go Chicago to score in this game. And our last game we'll touch on is Colorado and Toluca. Toluca from Liga MX is off to a 1-1-1 start in the Apertura. They drew 0-0 with Necaxa, beat Cruz Azul 2-0, and lost 4-2 to Juarez. Dating back to last season in Liga MX, they've been strong of late with a record of 9-3-4 in their past 16. They also usually find the score sheet, something they've done in 16 of their past 18 games. That trend continued in the League's Cup, where they were involved in maybe the most exciting game of the tournament so far, going into Nashville and coming away with a 4-3 win in a place that's not usually easy for road teams to come and get points, as Nashville are 8-2-2 at home in MLS this season. They held 63% of the possession, they had 16 shots, 9 shots on target, and they were winning 4-2 at one point in the game. Now, Colorado are a very poor team. They're 3-10-10 in MLS, and they're tied with Toronto as the second worst team in the league, only ahead of Miami. They've already lost to Nashville 2-1 in the League's Cup. That means they have just 1 win across all competitions in their last 14 games. Now, my only concern with betting against Colorado is that as bad as they've been, they do sometimes keep clean sheets. They have 4 0-0 draws in their past 8 games. But they're last in the League's Cup, in their League's Cup group right now with 0 points, whereas both Toluca and Nashville have 3 points. So Colorado is going to need 3 points in this game. Not 1, not 2, no penalty kick win will do. They need a regulation win to have any chance of moving on, which means they're likely going to have to open up, and they're just not very good, which means Toluca should have every chance to get on the score sheet themselves. So we'll bet Toluca to score as the last leg of the parlay, pairing that with Chicago to score, and Columbus and Club America at over 1.5. You can get plus 104 odds on that. Now, that wraps up my best bets for League's Cup Round 3. Let me know what your picks are for this round in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more League's Cup and soccer picks this season. Good luck, everybody, with your League's Cup Round 3 best bets, and we'll see you in the round of 32.